Episode 10.
Yeah.
And before we start, I know we've got a similar shade of blue on, but I'm not going to say that word again.
Oh,
So,
I was really looking forward to it.
People have had a great time with that. Even my mum will give me some shit for it. But at least people are watching. I wish they weren't. So today we're going to be back to our regularly scheduled programming, as we call them, so in our sequence of episodes. And we've got a couple of little new things that we're going to be doing that are going to be in place moving forward for the podcast. And one of them is questions from the audience or anyone that might ask us something when the email goes out or puts it in the comments on YouTube. And of all the things that we found this time, we picked a question from my sister, which we thought was quite a good one. So we'll come on to that in a little bit. First, I'll give the topic of today's show and then we can do a few updates. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
So the topic of today's show is, what is intelligence?
Oh, you're going to have a field day, aren't you?
Why do you say that?
Because you talk about it a lot.
What, intelligence?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a interesting question because obviously it will have a definition that we'll search in a minute and look together on. But also then it takes many forms. So I think we can dig into that and see what we come to. But what I would preface that with is I don't think there's an answer to it. But I think it's interesting to get your point of view. I obviously think my point of view is interesting.
Obviously.
I always do. So yeah, just something to think about and talk about. And it might help people along the way because, you know, there are people out there that might think they're not intelligent. And they might be right, they might be stupid. But they might actually have something that actually is intelligence that they don't really take
or recognise as.
Yeah, because they might think that, you know, they might not be book smart or word smart and all that kind of stuff, which is easy to misinterpret for intelligence sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So updates.
So Wodapalooza. Like, first, Tom Kingdon, one of our lads, he's done amazing. Apart from one point when he completely ate sand and threw up in his shoe. But other than that...
He threw up in his shoe? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he threw up in his shoe.
Oh, bless him.
Intentionally. I don't know what the full story was. I know he was sick in his shoe. So I assume, because the only thing I'm putting it down to, because he's so polite, I felt like he was going to be sick. He didn't have anywhere to do it.
Unless he took his shoe off.
Yeah, so that's what I actually spoke to him, But he came 23rd in an absolutely stacked elite field, which is amazing for him because it's just progression for him that he can see, because at semi-finals, which was just contained within the European field, obviously, he performed as he performed. He did really well. But like now, obviously the work that he's been putting in to go up against the guys that he went up against, you know what I mean? He had 2 top 10 finishes as well across the workout. So amazing job from him. But then one person to mention that we can't talk about Wodapalooza without mentioning is Lucy Campbell.
Yeah,
like,
she smashed it.
Fucking won. She won. And that's not like, I'm not saying that in a surprise way because of her like levels. We know Lucy's incredible.
It's the story.
She's been out injured. She's come back, and that field was stacked again. Laura's there, who literally wins every competition that Tia don't turn up to. And Lucy was just so consistent. I think like most of the finishes was second. The one she finished the lowest on was a complex, which was cleans and hand cleans. So like obviously with a wrist injury, that's not going to be a great workout for her. But it's just the mental strength and fortitude of her to go out and do that it's just so impressive. Like, really, you know what I mean? And like, again, like I said earlier, the field, it wasn't like it was just like a run of the mill field. Like most of the top athletes that have all been to the games were there. And Lucy's just smashed all of them. So
good on for her.
Nice little 75 grand in back pocket.
So it is. Oh, lovely.
Not a bad little earner, is it?
Good on her.
So yeah, so that's just something that I absolutely wanted to mention, and it was cool. So
that's really good.
Yeah.
What about Defiant updates?
Defiant updates. So we are about to launch our throwback birthday range. So we decided, we always like to do something for our birthday, and we figured, rather than reinvent the wheel, the amount of times we have people come back, every time an old tee or design gets shared on socials, there's always someone saying, oh, are you ever doing them again? So I thought, right, we'll do it as a pre-order. We'll pull all the old designs out. These are like the first ever designs we did, but like they've stood the test of time. Like we haven't done them or released them for a while. So they're going to be going out think 2nd of Feb-ish we're going to launch, but it'll all be in the emails. So yeah, keep an eye out for them. Other Defiant updates. What else have we been up to? Obviously, we've had the wash up from the Invitational. We're looking at some new ways of marketing online, aren't we? With some laser targeting, as it's called, which is pretty exciting. More to follow on that. But other than that, from a Defiant point of view, it's just been sort of maintaining the energy and the levels through January. You might have seen from our emails, we've not been trying to sell throughout January, because we understand that we're all in the same boat, doing a lot of disposable income in January. So we don't want to be like, boring people with the same old shit trying to sell stuff. So we've tried to be a little bit more creative. We've done our back to fitness emails, which what we've done there is, which people hopefully have seen. We started with Matt Tyler, then we went on to Ed Ely, and we've done the project, and then the next team I took out will be AOD. So 4 of our favourite fitness-based accounts, they've got something to offer that can help you on your fitness journey, not just in January, but all year round. It just so happens that in January there's an elevated level of focus and attention on those types of things. So yeah, I think that's it from a Defiant point of view. What about you? Have you been up to anything?
Well, apart from going out with my friends last night for my belated birthday, so I'm feeling a little fragile.
How much wine did you drink?
Too much.
Good answer.
And what update-wise, what have we been up to? Strategizing for a lot of businesses. Taking a couple of new clients on in new industries.
Your customer portfolio is growing, isn't it? Like, we might not even see you anymore on these podcasts. It's like
we'll get it in. But it's nice because they're in new industries for me. Well, new industries. One which I'm particularly looking forward to is hospitality, because that's how I started out in life. So I'm looking forward to going back. Into that and seeing it from a new set of eyes. So that'd be really good. So no, everything's been really busy, and then we've got, when's the 4th of Feb? Is that
a week on Tuesday? 4th of Feb, isn't it?
A week on Tuesday was what I meant. Is that a week on Tuesday? No,
yeah,
2 weeks.
A week.
That's what I was trying to figure out. So a week on Tuesday, it's World Cancer Day. So at Ely Fitness, we're doing how many thousand miles?
330,000 miles on a C2 bike.
So I said yes before I realised what it was. So what did you think it'll take? 12 hours? Is that what they're saying?
I don't think. Well, it depends what level. Like, if you've got people that are just going to spin wheels, you might be there a couple of weeks.
It's me and Ed, isn't it? Because we're the ones that the length of time we take.
So the other bikes are just in
going
support.
For the hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I reckon, that 100k took me 3 hours 14. So if you worked on that, you'd be at around 10.5 hours. But obviously, you're doing it for much longer, and you don't spend every waking minute on it like me, so you might be slightly slower. So I think go with 12. I think 12 would be a good stint.
I'm going to buckle in for 12.
Buckle in for 12. You've got some padded shorts.
I've got 4 pairs.
4 pairs?
Do you remember when you did that row when you put a layer on every time it got numb? I feel like I'm just going to do that.
Yeah.
See how I get on, and then just add layers.
My advice on that is to wait as long as you possibly can for the first layer.
Okay, fine. Not start with it on.
No, because you need somewhere to go. If there's nowhere to go, you'll be in a bad place. So, but I'm going to come in the morning and
You're going to do a couple
of hours, before I go and have another tattoo. That'll be my last sweat.
Oh, yeah.
New tattoo, another uplifting one of death.
Skull.
But it's like it's a skull disintegrating through an hourglass. So the point of that is not to be negative. Like everyone frames things differently. To me, that is time waits for no one. So go and do what you need to do. Because
I like it.
When your time's up, it's up.
It is. This is true.
So that and you're raising money for Western Park.
Western Park, because they looked after Ed's dad and looking currently after my dad. So quite an important charity for us. So,
and it's 330,000 miles because that's how many people are diagnosed with cancer each year.
Yes,
is it?
That's the one. I can post the link, can't I? So I'll put the link in if anyone wants to support or pop down and watch if you're in the Bakewell area.
Oh yeah, it's a hub, isn't it? Bakewell of all people watching podcasts.
So that's coming up. I've got loads of stuff coming up, exciting, but we'll not do all of that. Let's talk about intelligence.
Let's talk about intelligence.
Let's start with the definition.
Do you want to do intelligence or do you want to do Torie's top tip first?
Oh, well, either or.
Let's do intelligence, because I'll probably bang on with that, and then at least you get some airtime with Dr. after, and then we'll go into the final question.
Okay, so the definition of intelligence is the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. That's the official.
The ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. So that does range so much more of a breadth of things than what people would initially give it credit for, then, wouldn't it? Because, you know, like, it's that, and I don't think this because I don't even know how to do it, but, you know, like that sort of tradey and, you know, builders sort of mentality of, you know, like someone in an office that's, you know, got a pen and a fucking nice pad and a, you know, a computer would maybe look down on those people as being less intelligent because they do those jobs. You know, that's sometimes a common...
Anything, I'd say that's more.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. But if you look at intelligence, as a definition, they are fucking doing stuff that most of the people in the world can't do.
That took longer to acquire.
And then they're applying it on a daily basis and then constantly evolving their skill set in order to be able to deliver it. So I think that kind of flips a lot of mainstream beliefs of what intelligence is. You know, you see someone in a suit saying fancy words, that's intelligence as
a common understanding.
Yeah, but it takes many forms. So whatever you do, if you have a skill or you've learned a skill, then, and you can then apply it. I think that's the key to intelligence, isn't it? It's that part. It's, can you then apply that skill or that knowledge or that understanding elsewhere? So one of the things that, I don't know if it was Greg or someone like that, I heard talking about like how to effectively teach kids. So when they go to school, they're taught to memorize things. They're not taught to learn things, because all schools care about is the tests. You know, like what score did they get? What do Ofcom say? Ofsted, and all that shit. It's geared towards performance as opposed to learning. So if you can teach kids to remember stuff, you might get good test scores, but then do they know it?
Yeah.
So like, rather than teach a kid like a sequence of numbers, teach them why, because then they'll start to understand maths and then they can apply those numbers to logical situations that might benefit them. Whereas if you're just teaching someone that this follows this, because you think about Oscar, what can he count to?
Oh, I don't know, like we're nearly 100. Right.
So, but he has no idea. He just can memorize those numbers. You know what I mean? And that's not to the detriment of him. He's free. Like, but that's the difference. So if he went through his entire life only being able to memorize strings of numbers in a perfect sequence, he wouldn't have learned anything, and therefore he wouldn't be able to apply that. And the first time someone said to him, what's 7 + 3? He'd have no idea.
Yeah.
So it's like understanding like how to learn and how to apply stuff is the core of intelligence. And it's like when you learn a new skill, like when you think, you know, when you're learning to drive, you have to understand how all the little intricacies of driving come together to be able to then apply that in a safe and effective way in order to drive efficiently. And
how much you have to concentrate that first time.
Yeah, it's crazy.
About that
so like that's intelligence. And then, you know, like some people, I know a lot of useless shit because useless shit interests me, which is bizarre.
Like, but what was it? The African countries?
Yeah, when I learned the African countries, I didn't know all the countries of Africa. So I learned them. So then, you know, if we were having a situation where, which is going to be rare, where someone needed to know an African country and I could say it, someone might say to me, God, you're so smart. How do you know that? Like, right. So was it intelligent for me to spend my time learning African countries that I might need to know? I'll never need to know, but would look cool to know. Yeah. And it's like that sort of thing. So is that intelligence? Or is it just, but then I'm not talking about me now, but is a thirst for knowledge considered some form of intelligence? Because regardless of whatever that knowledge is, if you start to learn things, you're teaching yourself how to learn almost and how to think. So maybe that is a form of intelligence in itself.
Yeah, well, you never want to feel like you know it all because you just physically can't. Yeah. So I think the more you acquire it, and I think we had this conversation ages ago, that some people are really good at, say, taking something that no one understands and putting it in a way or telling it in a way that makes it, so especially in my job, I actually had a meeting with one of the guys on Thursday, and it's understanding tax and VAT and all that sort of stuff, corporation tax, and anyway, we're moving it all through, and he's shifting his business in massive ways, and it was almost like trying to say to him, you are a gatherer of tax, so like VAT, because he was like, I don't understand it. I don't know what it means when you can't claim it back, etc., etc. So we were saying like you want almost your VAT bill to be high because you're just adding it on, so you're gathering it to then give it. So that isn't anything that should affect you. You're taking it to give it. But your corporation tax bill, obviously, you're wanting lower because you want to spend wisely and you want to make it invest in, etc., etc. And it was just a way of doing that rather than saying, well, if you spent this is what you'd pay, this is what you could claim back. So it was like, that's the bit that I just don't get. So like shifting it in a way that someone can understand.
So did he come away from that understanding it in its entirety, so now he can apply it?
So yeah, now he's gone away and he's like, right, that makes sense. So if I do X, Y, Z, or I quote for this, then that pot's going there, that's going there. Because it was like, obviously it was the claiming back that he was like, I just don't.
Well, that's what you have an accountant for, isn't it?
It's very, very true. But he wanted to understand it. It was, again, the thirst for knowledge. He was like, I don't want to just hand it all over. I want to understand it because it's my business, it's my money, it's my quote. And I was like, absolutely. So
and like you always say, like one of the first things we did together was understand your numbers, isn't it? It's like, it's massive. So going back to the intelligence piece, like, if you were going to describe what is intelligence to you, like in like a really concise way, because I bet it's totally different to what it is to me, and that's fascinating, I think.
Yeah.
I hope everyone else does as well.
I think a thirst for knowledge is definitely one of them. So I think trying to understand as much as possible, but then being able to apply it to various areas of your life, whatever that looks like, with what you've learned or the stories that you've heard, and then helping others understand that for me, if I go with a problem to someone and I'd can't think of an example. If I went with a problem to someone and someone made it as simple as anything because they knew it inside out, that for me is intelligence. Not if they sat there and said, well, all fancy names and terms, and I literally sat there and felt more stupid than when I arrived. So I think that, and the ability to get someone to understand something, which is, I suppose, part of the definition, isn't it? To acquire it and then be able to apply it or teach it. That for me is intelligence.
Yeah. The strange thing with that is, some of the smartest people in the world would really struggle to explain something to the layman.
Yeah.
But they have ultimate intelligence and they can understand it in a way that probably can't even be described. Yeah. But then if you said to me, explain that to me, be like, I cannot communicate on a level that you're ever going to understand. That kind of. So
what is it to you
weird.
then?
To me, right now, it is the ability to critically think.
Yeah.
Because critical thinking to me is hearing information and then being able to sieve through it, see the utter shit in it, and go and do your own research to find it out. And I think that the key to intelligence is being curious, to me. Don't take anything, I've said this in numerous ways, in different ways, but don't take anything at face value that's important. And that is intelligence, being able to think in a way that you don't just take someone at their word. It's different if you go into your accountant and saying, what's my VAT bill? Because I'm going to take you at your word, you're a trained accountant. But there's so much information out there that it has no substance that people believe. Yeah. To me, critical thinking and intelligence are like massively really hand in hand. So that, again, like, good job we prefaced it. How do you say that? Is it preface?
Preface.
Yeah, it just doesn't sound right, does it? I want to say preface. That's like one you had earlier before you put makeup on for podcast. Your preface.
I wasn't going to scare everyone with that.
So Torie's top tip. Do you want to get straight into that?
Yeah, go for it. So, sweat the small things.
Sweat the small things.
And use them to your advantage. But by that, and you'll probably tell the story way better than I will, but...
So it's like Steve's top tip?
Go for it. Do you want to take it?
No, I don't know what you're going to say.
We were at I was there virtually, but you were at a face-to-face, what do they call them? Exhibition?
Conference, isn't it?
Yeah. With the Entrepreneur Circle, and he told a really, really good story, didn't he, about he was on holiday and his TVs broke, or the internet, or something didn't work, did it? And he came back, Googled local electricians or whatever it was. Anyway,
he needed someone to come around, and he said he had like 3 teenage kids at the time, and the tellies weren't working. So he were like, "This is a big problem. We've just got back from Dubai. Someone needs to fix it before I kill these kids, basically."
So out of a few people that he rang, one guy came, didn't he?
Yeah, and he said people would just put your phone down, not interested, because it would just seem like such a small job. I think that was the problem, wasn't it?
So this guy came, fixed the tellers, did exactly what he was paid to do. Obviously, Nigel wasn't bothered how much that was going to cost him. And then he said he noticed while he was doing the job that none of his TVs were in HD. Then saw somewhere whether it had it on the telly or it was on the side. I can't remember what the.
Yeah, that picture of Leeds up, didn't it? Leeds United, because that's who he supports.
Which is a massive thing for him.
Dirty Leeds.
And he said, oh, what was it along the lines of, I can't believe you watch.
Yeah, you don't watch Leeds United on these tellies, do you?
Not in HD. And at this point, he was like none the wiser. He was like, well, it's absolutely fine. And then he was in town, wasn't he?
Well, he said to him, didn't he? The guy, the electrician guy, said to him, go to John Lewis, go downstairs to where the TVs are, and just have a look, see what you think. And then if you need anything, here's my card.
Went down, absolutely loved it. Thought, I cannot believe I've been watching football, not in HD. Rang him straight back, and he replaced every telly, didn't he?
Yeah, I spent 11 grand with him.
But the point of the top tip, that he didn't hard sell. He didn't say, well, here's everything that I can do, because he wasn't in the market to do it. So instead, he was clever about it, used the personal bits, gave it in his own time, didn't pressure sell, but left all the avenues open.
It to him, yeah.
And then when he was ready, he came back, and that was an easy 11 grand. Probably the easiest 11 grand he ever made.
Yeah, and the other thing on that, I think, like, it's seeing the opportunity before the opportunity is even obvious. So before he even got to Nigel's house, this guy was talking to him on the phone where all the others had gone. You could tell, rolling their eyes, it's a small job, I'm not doing that. He's obviously, first thing he hears is, I've just got back from holiday and none of my tellies work. So straight away there, right, he's just been on holiday and none of his tellies work. That means he's got multiple tellies. He's been on holiday, so that's straight away he's saying, must have a bit. And then he's probably Googling his address in background, then sees his house, and it's like, right, put them three things together, this guy's got money.
Yeah.
And one of the best ways that conference talked about is marketing to money.
Yeah.
So if you can solve somebody that's got a few quid's problems, they don't value sort of price is not their driver.
They value the time. The
time or just knowing someone can get the job done. So he obviously thought, right, I can be his guy. So now he's his go-to guy, and he still uses him for all his aerial and electrical TV needs, because we all know what that's like, don't we? You know, if you've got a good mechanic that you use, you don't shop around once you've got one that you like. And it's that sort of mentality. Is how do you become that person to someone? And it's by, like you say, seeing the small stuff, sweat the small stuff, seeing an opportunity in everything, and not just thinking, that's not going to be worth my time now, because everything that's a small thing has the potential to become a big thing. So every small customer can be a big customer, but you've got to give yourself the opportunity to be that person or that brand or that whatever in order to sell to those people. So I just thought it was so cool. Like, I love that bit with the best. Sees the Leeds United picture and then says, you don't watch Leeds on these tellies, do you? Because you go to a guy, like,
a big thing.
If you support a football team, you don't want anyone thinking that you're not supporting them, right?
You're not doing it justice.
Yeah, so I thought that was really good. But yeah, so sweat the small stuff. Is that what?
Sweat the small stuff, definitely.
Yeah.
So what is Sam's question?
So yeah, the question we had this time was, she asked us, didn't she, when we were setting up for the invitation? What she said was, I truly believe in the future that this brand is going to go where the fuck we want it to go. And that's on us, but it's going to go there. You know, might take a few years, like what my favourite brands represent. They didn't explode. It took them like 9 years to explode. And then they still did it gradually. Yeah. And then they're going to turn over about 500 million this year, I think. Most of it's from me.
I was going to say, you're supporting that.
But Sam's question was like, and when we talk about that, we don't mean that in a dickhead way. We just believe in what we're doing, and we are going to make this happen for this brand 100%. Now, what that looks like, we don't know. Where it'll take us, we don't know, but we know it's going to go somewhere that we want it to go, because we are doing the right things and we will just keep doing them. And that's repetition, and you do it and you do it and you do it. And if you're doing it in the right way, you'll get to where you want to go. So I'm just saying that before we start.
I was going to say, so the
question was, because Sam shares our passion for it and sees what we want to do. So one day, let's say the Defiant Co is a multi-million-pound globally recognised brand. Sam's question was, if you could, where you are now, and you knew it was going to go there, and you knew you were going to take it there anyway, would you click your fingers and be there right now, or would you still want to go on the journey to taking it there?
Yeah.
And that was her question. I thought it was really good, and it's something that you can sort of ask in different ways, but like that to me is like cool. So I'm going to let you go first. Would you have a click, or would you go on the journey?
So I love the journey, but I suppose my answer would be a bit different to yours. Even though, like, obviously it was your brand, it was yours from the absolute offset. For me, I would click my fingers and have it there, even though I don't love the journey, but only because that then would open opportunities to do more. So I would then get the journey with that. I wouldn't take that away from you, obviously. But yeah, even though like go right like that, because I know the journey and we absolutely love the journey. But yeah, no, I would. I'd probably say yes, because then I could replicate, or I could do more, or I could. So yeah.
Do you think, and just exposing you a little, do you think that answer is what it is now because your life's becoming busier and busier with all the good stuff you're doing? But do you think that the journeys are less enticing than they once were because you've got so much to do? So if you could just go bang, right, that business is sorted. Well, watch that money coming on. Move on.
I've still got 6 journeys.
You know what I mean? Like,
possibly,
you think that's in your thinking? Because once again, for me, it's the exact opposite for you. And maybe not. Like I have a toe in it because I do everything you just said. I'm like, yeah, because God, if we did have that, we could do. Never gonna stop. But like, I think because I don't know. For me, I just think that I'm learning so much along the way, and we have, like you say, we have very different lives. Like I do have another role with a good income that I don't rely on the Defiant Co for, so that's slightly different, I guess. And I just think that, but also, I mean, from a personal development point of view, how much I've come on in the last even year, 18 months, because of doing the right things in my personal life, but also in my professional life. It's just, I'm becoming a better person. And I feel like if I missed out on that journey, like I'd miss out on so much personal growth that I'm enjoying who I'm becoming. You know what I mean?
No, I completely get that.
Maybe if I could like not click my fingers and be there, maybe, just like, right, let's make multiple little clicks. So I can still go there and do a bit of a journey. So then I'd pick the journey then if I have to pick one, but like it'd be, I don't want to miss out on like, cause someone just gives you anything. Them people that like, they maybe get handed businesses or wealth. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't, because if their family's worked hard for it, good luck to them. But they never really have that same passion as the people that build it themselves. And that's not to say they can't become great businessmen in their own right. But when you speak to those people, they still just miss a little bit of something. Whereas when you're building something, it's all your responsibility and all yours, and all like, don't work unless you work.
The pride is just immense,
just like, and I just wouldn't want to ever lose that feeling of earning it. You know what I mean?
Which means that we need to constantly remind ourselves to take point of where we're at. I think we had spoke about a few podcasts here, didn't we? About even though we've grown, and even when we met with Millie and Joey, and they were saying they were like, just in the last 12 or 18 months, it's done X, Y, and Z, and it has done, yet we still feel like we're doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I read something about that as to why people feel like that, And it's apparently when you feel like you do nothing, and this isn't to say that, I mean, we're experts, but as we're developing and learning and growing, we always feel like we're not doing anything. And it's because those skills we learn along the way then become almost automatic and subconscious skills.
A bit like the car thing again.
Yeah, so what happens is, then when you, say now, when I used to first write emails, I used to find it like difficult at first and then rewarding, get some sales off the back of it. Like, oh wow. Now we get sales off the back of most emails and I don't get that buzz. And it's because I've developed that skill. That it becomes not automatic, but it's almost subconscious. And what it said in this book was, when you become, and again, I'm not saying I'm an expert email writer, some people don't like me swearing in them, but, fuck them. But there is like a part, once a skill becomes automatic, you no longer give yourself the credit for displaying it because it's subconscious, but actually you should give yourself more credit because you become an expert. And like you say perfectly with the driving example, when you first start driving, everything's difficult. And now I couldn't tell you what happened between the journey I've just taken because it's automatic, it's subconscious, and everyone is an expert driver, in terms of the skill set, not in terms of stopping at green lights for no reason. But you know what I mean?
Has that happened recently?
No, but you know them people. Like,
oh, okay.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
But yeah,
But
so I think that's I'm all about the journey. The journey.
Good job we're enjoying what we're on.
Yeah. Right, done. Bang.